Hey guys, I wanted to talk about what I'm going to refer to as the Second Interregnum, my friendship group that I had then, which is much different than from my first interregnum. And you're going to say, AJ, what is an interregnum? It means between kings. Not that I considered the men I was dating kings, but just because it sounds like a cool name to refer to that era. Sorry. And look at the lights. Anyway, it's really sunny out. And unfortunately, the sun's in the west, so it's going to come in. Oh, yes. So the second interregnum. My ex-boyfriend, Aaron, after 4 years together, decided things weren't working. And it was actually really mutual. Probably the most amicable breakup I've ever had. We sat down one day and we were talking, and I'm like, "Are you happy?" And he's like, "No." He says, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "No." He says, "I think I want to move out." Okay. I've already planned it. I've got a place. And I'm like, this is, okay, I'm seeing a pattern. It's like two. Can't be a pattern. Can't be a pattern yet. So he got a new place. He moved out. As far as I was concerned, we separated. I wound up hooking back up with the guy named Josh from the first interregnum once. And I learned my lesson. He was a rabid Republican because his parents told him that's what he needed to be. Not picking on Republicans, I'm just saying if you can't make your own decisions and use your own logic to come up with why you believe something, it's probably not going to be a good fit with me. If you came up to me and said, "You know what, this is why I believe what I believe," I would be okay with you. I really would. I can see both sides of the coin. Unfortunately, I see that it's one coin and that we're just blind sheep following two groups of idiots that are the same coin. I digress. So, I'm independent, not wealthy, but independent. And I'm out at the bar, and it's a place called Ice. And it was in Hamtramck, inside the city of Detroit, but it's its own little independent entity. And really cool bar. It was basically a loft apartment, if you think about what a loft apartment looks like. So there's the main floor, and then this loft that sits above it, and then looks down into the dance floor. There's a picture of me somewhere. I'll post it. Yeah, probably not here though. I'll try to. And I'm standing on my cell phone, texting away, and behind me it says "Drama Queen," and that is from Ice. Sorry, we're digressing too much. So I'm there, and I'm up on this big cube. You had to like jump up on it to get on it. I'm dancing because nobody else was, and I'm a douche and tend to do things to draw attention to myself. And I'm sitting there with my Calvin Kleins and no shirt on because, once again, and this guy is like trying to get his hands in my pants, and it wound up being a good friend of mine, Robert. But he was there with Jeff and Jason, and we wound up being friends. I had the hots for Jeff. Jason had the hots for me. Robert had the hots for me. Robert had a boyfriend who lived in New York while he lived in Detroit. Well, he lived in Ecorse. So at the time, during the second interregnum, I lived in the city of Detroit in a neighborhood called Russell Woods. You can Google it. It's a real place. It's Livernois and Davison. So it was in a very minority-centric neighborhood. It used to be the Jewish quarter. I still had the little, I'm not going to remember the name of it. The little silver things that are on the door, so you kiss it when you come in. And it has a little saying from the Torah. And it was really cool. It was really cool to live in this neighborhood. But this was the group I hung out with. They wound up being the group I hung out with. At first, we just hung out at the bar a little bit. I'm sitting there. I remember this distinctly. After all that had happened, I'm sitting there watching. What was the name of that movie? It was a very gay movie. Not going to remember it. It'll come to me and then I'll be pissed off that I forgot. And I could, word for word, tell what was happening on the screen. And they just sat there like, how do you know this? And I'm like, how do you not know this? I've like memorized this. I've watched this like 100,000 times. It was a really funny movie. But they said, you should join us for softball this summer. And I'm like, yeah, I played softball with my sisters when I was like, 12 to 17. They played softball. So we would go out as a family. We had this big yard. I mean, huge. And we would play. And I had to play left-handed. So you're picturing. And everybody else is like, I'm right-handed, so I should be doing this. I walk up to, they invite me, I go, and I walk up, and I try hitting right-handed, and I'm so awful. And I said, give me 1 second. And knock that shit out. And it was awesome. I was so proud of myself, and I'm like, oh God, I'm left-handed. My grandmother's left-handed. My parents forced me to do left-handed because I would hit weaker, is what the thought pattern was. Truth be known, I tie my shoes left-handed. If you ever watch me tie my shoes, my fraternity brothers were like, what are you doing? I was tying my shoes. I think it's self-evident. They're like, that's not how you tie your shoes. They showed me their way. I don't understand it. I showed them mine. They don't understand it, but mine works. And actually, it's decent. So it's one of those, go fucking hell. But anyway, so we played softball for 2 years. It was awesome. It was awesome till it wasn't. And the second year of doing this, there was a lot of like passive aggressiveness that I wasn't quite understanding where it was coming from. And finally, as my universe imploded, where my job went to hell, and I was going to a gym that was a decent amount of time away from where I lived, but was also much better than, it was called Madison Athletic Club. It was much further away than the gyms I was going to, but it also had everything I needed. And my friend Jeff was the one that got me to go there. And then he stopped going because there was a passive aggressiveness to this. There was a point to which we had a moment where we were making out and like getting naked. And he said, you can't tell Jason. I said, why? He said, Jason has the hots for you. And I'm like, what? Jason's not my type at all. Jason was, okay, so I'm gonna say some things, and please don't take them incorrectly. Jason was a bigger guy, like a much bigger guy, and he did drag. And I love drag queens. They're awesome. I'm not wanting to date one. And I love bigger people because they're like extremely authentic. But at the same time, I don't want to date one. It's my preference. I'm not a dick. Or you could say I am. I'm good in either direction. So I'm like, I don't feel anything for Jason like that. He's my buddy. He would do my hair. And then as we're talking about the things that he would do for me, I'm like, oh, there's a flag. 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 So I basically stopped Jeff because I'm like, I'm not wanting to get involved in the politics of this friendship and turning something else. And then everyone in this little group of people that I was with slowly made it known that they were interested in me in anything other than the position that I thought they were aiming for, which was friendship. And then they pretty much made it clear that if I wasn't interested in something more, that I wasn't part of their group. So my last day in Detroit, well, the weekend of my last days in Detroit, I'm at the final softball tournament, and we do decent. We weren't a great team. We had fun, but we go to the final dinner that they would have, and it was in a place called Menjo's, and we're all sitting at the same table and trying to be nice to each other, And I'm like, I'm leaving. I mean, this is my last time here. And I say goodbye to this really cute couple that, let's just say, I talk about threesomes. I've only had a couple, like 4 in my life, and this Windsor couple was one of them. And I say goodbye to them, and they basically just walk past me like I didn't exist. And I'm like, you guys suck. And my team was sitting there, and I walk in and get another drink and walk out, and they were all gone. That was the end of my friendship group from Interregnum number 2. The flip of all of this is, while I was there, after I walked out and they disappeared, I walked back in and just stood there for a second because there's food, and I'm like, okay. And by the way, at this point, I weighed 165. I could go like this around my waist. And now, well, we don't talk about that. This is 15 years later, and I'm fine with how I look. But I walk in, I look at the food, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not up for this. And this guy walks in, and we talked for an hour or 2, and it was magic. So I know magic exists in the world, and I was just watching a video on computer. It was that way. I was just watching a video on INFJs and how they view relationships and how things are supposed to start, and they talked about you shouldn't count on magic. It exists in our heads, and it makes us feel very good about, this is the one. Holy crap, I found the one. But is that really your one? And I would say that the ones that I found that it was like lightning lasted a long time. But were they the one? And what makes the one the one? And why is it that I'm searching for something that's magic in a world of, well, where we live? Do I think there's magic? Yeah. Do I think I'll find somebody that'll be magical? I would hope so. I would hope so, because when it happens that way, it's really like awe-inspiring. And then I have these like insanely cool myths that I build up around it that make me feel like there is some higher power that's like in my world looking out for me. And that makes me feel special, which we should all feel special. I need to find a way to feel special without actually needing some divine inspiration for it, though. I have things to work on. I'm a good guy, though. Anyway, I think I'm going to end it here. These guys exist in the world still, back in Detroit. I don't talk to them. Once you cross me and make me feel like I am a burden or not your person, I'm not holding space for you. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fill me with joy to make space for people who would just walk away. And I'm good with that, because the world is full of people. And somewhere out there is my person, waiting impatiently for me to get off my soapbox and figure my shit out so that I can actually walk up to him and go, I like you. I love you guys. I love you, dude. I hope you have a wonderful day.